Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted us to watch and react to the new Vice video with Sydney Watson and a few other people where they talk about feminism, trans rights, and everything else that encompasses feminism, I guess. So there was a couple viral clips that Sydney Watson shared where people on the panel really did not like when you detracted from the rest of the group. So I wanted us to, try and watch at least most of the video. I don't want to do the whole thing just because I don't want Vice to come after me for a copyright strike, but let's go in and watch it. Sit down, get comfortable, and let's watch the shitstorm together.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can pick what we want to pick.
Who doesn't have barriers?
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want.
I can or you can?
What's stopping you?
So with that first little tidbit that Vice gives you, you can already see the animosity that is directed towards women who don't fall in line and don't believe everything, I guess, the other women around them believe. Let's continue on.
Correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say,
I don't know if I would say feminism is the biggest issue dividing women today in America. Maybe it is. Maybe there's some things.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about...
So, like, about things other than being a female, because like your race and other attributes to you don't necessarily define you as a woman as much as actually just like being a woman is. Like, there's so many things that women, regardless of their socioeconomic background, regardless of their race, regardless of like other, attributes of their life, there is a female experience that most females can just identify with one another, whether it be, going through puberty, growing up, certain changes as, being a girl, becoming a woman. Like, there's these things that define females that other features in your life don't really change too much.
It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that
Like, you live in the West. What do you mean you don't know much about where you live and the things going on where you live? It literally says you live in New York. So you're saying, I don't know much about Western this or that. It's like, where are you from? You sound like you're American.
I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. See, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually, I think there's a lot of.
She just tells it honestly like it is. Like, of course, there's going to be issues that you face if you're a female or a male, but they're going to be different. So that's why the way I look at things is like, there's always going to be your pros and cons or your benefits and your negatives towards either being a girl or a guy or whatever it might be. There's always going to be these pros and cons, but at the end of the day, they almost equal out. Like, it's just, but she's true. Like, being a girl, generally speaking, as you grow up, people are more lenient with you. You mess up at a job, people tend to be a lot more lenient with you, especially if your boss is a male versus a female. Maybe if it's a female boss, they're going to be a little less lenient with you, but generally speaking, she is right.
Benefits that men don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas for women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think
It's always that if you're saying something that someone else doesn't like or someone doesn't agree with, or if you're just simply pushing back on what someone says, they have to attack you. Whether it even be if you're good looking, they have to attack you physically, like your physique. It can't just be like they attack your idea or what you say. They just say, oh, that's pretty privilege. Oh, that's cis woman privilege. And it's like, why don't you just actually attack what I said instead of saying what I'm saying is attributed because I'm good looking? Why can't you attack? Like, say, no, that's not true, because even if you're good looking, X, Y, and Z, this will still happen. That's a better argument to make, but they don't want to do that. For some reason, they'd rather just call themselves a feminist, but then attack you for not being able to control how you look to a certain extent. Like, I look how I look because I was born that way, and you're going to attack me for not liking my ideas because of how I look.
you present in a way that beauty standards have accepted. And so
And it's interesting that she says that, like, she is presenting herself in a way that beauty standards are asking her to, but I don't see that other girl like wearing much makeup. Well, on the other hand, like this woman is, wearing hair clips, she's wearing jewelry, she's wearing, makeup that you can actually visibly see. So it's kind of like, well, aren't you doing the exact same thing, but you're attacking her for the thing you're actually more outwardly doing than the other girl is. The other girl, like, doesn't even look like she's wearing makeup. I'm sure she's wearing makeup because she's filming, but she doesn't really present like how the quote unquote beauty standards are asking her to present herself as.
Ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily, I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there is a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
I mean, let's also dig into why these quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because we
privileges
want special
exist.
treatment.
No, it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women, and because of sexism.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can
Who
pick
has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
Doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want. What's
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman.
As a woman. As a
See,
woman.
that
Oh my God.
ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Well, as I
You don't
said
have to
before, I'm
think about.
speaking about.
But that's not because you're a woman. That's because you're disabled. And I don't agree. Like, there are barriers for women in certain instances, and there's barriers for men in certain instances. But she's trying to attack her for being, but I'm disabled. But it's like, but that's not, you're not disabled because you're a woman. I mean, some guys will say you're disabled if you're a woman, but I'm not saying that here. This is just such a bad faith.
Women. I'm not.
You're
I'm
speaking
not,
you're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as an able-bodied
white woman.
I
That is
understand.
white.
Presents white.
Of course.
Presents white. That girl just had to say it. She really does not like white people. She really does not like Americans.
There's going to be other barriers if you're disabled, I'm sure. Like, I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're
I
just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women
pay
have it
gap.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over bodies.
Pay gap has been
Well,
proven
the
and
pay gap
debunked
doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
That's so
It's
funny.
the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about
There's
it.
a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women.
Sydney comes in dropping truth bombs. I mean, what she says is exactly right.
structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things. First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism. And then also,
I'm sorry. Women take certain jobs not because of societal sexism. It's just basic. It's just interest. Like some women, and generally speaking, most women are interested in more of like the humanities, dealing with people, comms, HR, like actually dealing with people. While men just kind of are more into the technical stuff. Of course, there are women that enjoy that as well, but that's not the average. And speaking from someone who went to university, certain classes I was in were much more male dominant, and then other classes I was in were much more female dominant. And it's obvious which classes are which. And I was a science student, so I was kind of like one of those only girls in there. And as a girl, I tried to use it to my advantage and get help from the guys because I sucked in many of those classes.
Constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
like what?
What would you like to know an example of? So
I know you said that there's like barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman. I said as a woman.
Well, no, I can't answer as a woman.
I just feel like your question is kind of hostile when you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have the privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing.
But that privilege is being American. Like, that is one of like the best privilege, or like the most privileged thing you could be. So many people want to be American. I know, of course, there's people who love where they live, like, and I totally agree with that. But loving where you live is also a privilege. It's like, I hate that sort of attitude that just because you don't face some type of barrier or whatever, that means you're just privileged. When it's like, it depends how you look at privilege. Because generally speaking, if you're born in like a good, nice place that's pretty, consistent and nice, which is not just America, there's many countries like that, like baseline, you're privileged. Even if you face obstacles in your life, you are much more ahead than people who are in like more war-torn countries, socioeconomic issues going on. Like, it's just kind of like, I hate this attacking people on the idea that they're privileged, because that's like a never-ending cycle of like, what the heck? Like, people call me privileged, and I'm like, hey, like, I'm a type 1 diabetic. You're healthy. You're probably a lot more privileged than me, just for the baseline of like having health. Like, if I don't take insulin one day, I die. You don't die if you don't have insulin. So it's just kind of like, it's too easy of a attack that goes back and forth that is like not real. It's not like a real substantial thing, because privilege to one person can mean completely something different to someone else depending on what they face in their life. So it's just a horrible argument. I hate that argument.
And I feel like it's
I think as an American, you're very privileged.
Like,
there you go.
I'm not ignoring that.
Yeah, right.
So people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Those barriers that I don't believe in.
She is,
I don't
for you to have a bunch.
she is definitely beating a dead horse, but she's trying to keep them like on track of like, what are, no one has answered my question yet, which I get what she's trying to do.
Bunch of ramps in your life. It doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
Yeah, this lady, she's arguing with, I don't know her name, but she keeps trying to bring in her disability as a male versus female feminist argument. I get why she's getting annoyed with this.
But my feminism includes ability, it includes
my
race.
question is,
You guys can talk.
Women versus men. Like, what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
Like, so what barrier? I just want
The question
it's a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but
It's not a fair question. It's
how is it
hostile.
not a fair question?
Kind of proving the point of what people, especially black women, other people anybody who's not white, why we hear feminism and we don't want that label, because it means, I'm just gonna say, it means that. Like, it means that you've already gone to a pinnacle.
It means staying on track and actually using definitions as they should be used, because like feminism's not about your race, your ability. It's literally just about are you a girl or are you a guy? And if you're a girl, okay, now how do you view feminism as it pertains to your femaleness, your womanhood, your girlhood, I guess some people say. So it's just kind of being mad that you aren't letting different terms define feminism. Intersectionality is very confusing because it strays away from what it actually is.
Or whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal, based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right. It's most of the time it's not inclusive. It more times than not, it's not. So, and within
the baseline of feminism is like, you can be involved in the feminist movement if you're a female. Therefore, like, it is inclusive by definition, but you're trying to exclude people by using intersectionality as, okay, you're a white woman. Now you can't talk about feminism because this kind of feminism we're talking about, because we have added all of these, offshoots. Is this one supposed to be more inclusive? Yet you can't speak if you don't fit this exclusivity clause of this new form of feminism we've created, because feminism, just women, are not inclusive enough. Doesn't make sense. Logic out.
Feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately, we've only had one subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research and everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking like the agency for the reason that they're not achieving what they need to achieve.
I love Sydney's
page. You have to
here.
have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset.
So this next portion of the video is so frustrating because, again, this is detracting from the conversation of feminism, and it goes into anti-capitalism, capitalism, and all of this stuff. It's like, how is that in direct relation with feminism whatsoever? Like, I don't know why this other girl, not the girl who's speaking right now, but the other girl who freaked out on Sydney with her cackle, is on this panel, because she has not brought anything about feminism to the table. She's talking about race, socioeconomic, like, it's just anti-Americanism. Like, this is beyond me.
Are not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think we do. I think that's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies. Right. I think that men are not well adjusted in the society, and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us. I think that, like, what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity.
Yeah,
and not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like, it is like such conservative thinking to say, like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying, I don't understand and let me respect what you are.
Wait, so if you don't understand something, why wouldn't you want someone to explain it to you? That sounds really strange. If I don't understand something, I have the curiosity to want to know why I don't understand something, unless it's like just so frivolous, like what she just said. She just speaks frivolous language that doesn't even matter to know because it's not real. But that mindset of like, that's conservative thinking, is to want to understand something instead of just saying, yeah, I don't understand this, but like, I'm going to go on about my day. That seems like a really weird way to live in this world of just like ignorance. Not even ignorance is bliss, just like pure ignorance. And they think it makes them like a good person to not care about why someone feels a certain way, or why something is the way it is, or the way it works, or something like that. That's kind of just defeatist mindset.
No, I'm respecting wherever your starting point. I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's never...
Achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you projected this like capitalist ideology on every woman.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for.
Like, you live in New York City. I see your hair, your outfit, and you're really going to be talking about capitalism right now. Like, you look expensive. Like, you look high maintenance. I don't think you could achieve that with no capitalism. I see other girls who she's kind of ragging on, and they don't seem as materialistic as she does. So someone ragging on capitalism who is as materialistic as she looks, I don't know. You know what they say about glass houses?
For equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great, this is about feminism, it's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person, that's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized, but this is annoying to listen to. I honestly I don't understand anything anybody's even trying to get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept...
Right on, Sydney. Hit the nail on the head. This is like basically my whole complaint, right? This entire time I've been watching this, where I can't imagine actually having to sit down, listen to all this. I think I would have walked out by now. I just would have been so annoyed with this conversation because it's like, we're all just like talking about our personal griefs at this point. Like, this girl has an issue with America and capitalism. This other one has, faces obstacles because of her disability. And then the other people, they face obstacles because of their race. And then you do have like the two white women being like, hey guys, can we like stay on topic? And they're like, no, we have all these issues. And it's like, woohoo, feminism.
Competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine expansive people and meeting those opportunities. I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro-life, though. Yeah.
Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life? Why do you
wow.
identify as each?
That's pretty shocking that many people on the panel are pro-life. That's very interesting. There was very few pro-choice people.
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of the Planned Parenthood, yeah, I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated that murdering children, especially in late-term pregnancies, is celebrated, that people are so proud of themselves for mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stance.
You said late-term pregnancy.
Yes.
A lot of abortions do not happen.
I made the distinction specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact
but
that...
you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access. We're not celebrating killing kids. Like, that's not what it is.
Well, so this is what I'm saying.
So, like, here's the thing. When we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion rights, right, and to being pro-choice, listen, that's your body, you do you.
The child is not your body.
As I go.
A baby.
It's so scary for me to hear people calling like guns the biggest equalizer for women, but taking their choices away from them at a policy level.
Why is that?
Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah,
having choice is an equalizer.
Just like a gun right.
And in this country,
41 forms of
the
birth
policies
control.
that
Who would have like thought that she was like, the lady in green was like a base gun activist? I seriously went on, but I'm happy to see that they're, while some people on this panel are a little cray-cray, they have at least like this understanding of like it is important for females and just generally people to have access to defense.
that are pushed to continue perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women.
She is like the most, even though she's hating on white women a lot in America and Western feminism, she is like hitting all these buzzwords of like Western political jargon she said she didn't know by talking about like anti-capitalism, patriarchy, all these like very like politically driven like jargon. Like she's suspicious.
Like taking the autonomy away from women, it is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda. It's all brainwash. Like you,
it's brainwash because you don't agree with me.
No,
so
because
therefore
I've been
I'm
brainwashed. I have lived deeply institutionalized.
Ma'am,
I have lived under Islam. I'm not interested in any of that. Like, there's no like
You're not
jokes
interested
for
in
me.
human-
No, I'm not interested in like
living.
Thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my religion, abortion is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed, because, you know, it's very interesting how like fundamental America is. Like fundamentalist.
This is nothing to do with
like,
even religion. This is very
conservative
basic
thinking.
scientific human rights.
Why do you think that abortion has been so tied up in this feminism conversation?
It's all just social structure set up around bodies. So if not all women are able to have babies, but it's about the barriers and value that we give to these specific bodies, right? And so if abortion happens in a woman's body, that's why this conversation is coming up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you saying, meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah, instead of, you know, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to like do whatever they want.
That's like so funny that she just keeps like, she is like a female Andrew Tate, like no joke. But it is funny when she said that, at least this time, like some of the girls who do that, or maybe, you know, are okay with that, they like at least are like, yeah, we do that, as if that is somehow like feministy or like woo rights. Yeah.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you said.
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women, or is disempowering women part of your like steez?
See, this is shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why is
what
that
I'm
empowering?
saying is like, I feel like you do like take, like the way
Why
you
is it
speak on
disempowering?
women is very sort of like, women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just wanted this.
maybe I should
And I
change my
wonder
term.
why
Maybe I
you
should
have
say-
so much like hatred towards
I
women.
don't hate
Where
women.
does that root in? It
I don't
sounds
hate
like
women.
you do.
I am a woman.
That doesn't mean you don't have
I could be
self-hate.
black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly.
It's always this, like, if you don't agree with the crowd or you don't agree with things that you actually find disempowering, it must be because you have internal hatred or internal misogyny or something like that. Like, these arguments are so, it's like the girl in purple, she's not attacking you for your beliefs. She's challenging your beliefs, but then you actually don't attack her beliefs. You attack her as a person. Worst people ever.
I'm saying specific things that you're saying, like women don't want to work, women don't want to this, women want to sleep around.
Women don't want. What do you mean? No one wants to work.
Where did you learn these belief systems from?
Because, okay, the question was, why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%.
Good for
So
them.
what does that say to me? That means you're using it as a form of birth control. And they don't track the 60%.
What kind of abortions?
Can you let me finish? They don't track the 60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's like, why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit? I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men, because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep with whoever you feel like. Great, but
Exactly. How is that empowering whatsoever? It's not. It's actually putting yourself in very dangerous situations, because people want to look at these issues as if it's not dangerous to undergo medical procedures. Well, every medical procedure you'll ever undergo carries risk. Therefore, if you didn't have to undergo these medical procedures in general, you don't carry those risks. Same thing with BC. There are risks. People want to look at these things as if there is zero risk. There is risk. So why are women undergoing all of these risks for something that they're being told is like empowering? But when you talk to women who engage in this activity, they don't sound happy. Like in my life, girls I've grown up with who try to, extract worth from what a man will give them, they don't seem happy. They lack a lot of confidence. They don't have, any form of self-confidence in themselves. They tend to, fall into like mental breakdowns, depressions, all these sort of things. I have not ever met a girl, at least in my experience, they must exist, but that feels happier living that sort of life.
But there are consequences because women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's a very binary version of
yes,
sex.
because sex is binary. But please let me finish my point.
Oh God.
It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating pregnancy, is something to be celebrated. When in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped, or that, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the.
We shouldn't be desensitized to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
I want to talk about transgender issues. Should trans women be included in feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yes, they're women. What's the question?
Pearl,
Trans women are women.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
So I play semi-pro basketball, semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes
Why did she say, oh, Jesus? It's like only some people, like if you're gonna shut up, then your opinion matters because you're saying you don't have an opinion, basically. But if you come from it, like of a state of actually having experience with something, oh boy, don't want to hear what you got to say.
comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces because I don't think it's a fair. I think as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what a barrier is.
There's less. It's not. No. It's
That's
based
what
on the
friction
market.
means.
Okay.
Hold on, guys.
Okay. So again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're going to take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is.
So is the person who is a trans person trying to say that women are as entertaining as men, because how would I'm not even gonna get into it.
Like, we can't compete. We can't. Like, I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's gonna body me.
And what happens if I go up against you?
Even if I have years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for, and you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like this will be the end of women's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
Eli, hold on, Minnie.
Sorry,
Eli.
confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
I don't
Confidence can't
understand
make
why
me
you guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her
And
experience
confidence can't make
in
me
a
6'7".
specific
No, she's
field.
sharing
And I'd have to go.
No, she's not. She's a woman who's had.
So she's not sharing her experience. She's sharing her transphobia. That's what she just said. Are you joking? What the hell?
Experience.
Hold on, one at a time.
You guys are
Let
so
Pearl
obsessed with
finish.
your own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and the situation is not helping women,
Oh,
you guys are like,
Sydney.
"Meh, meh, meh." But when you're like, I'm a black person that did this, and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
bone
me.
density, wrist strength,
Yeah.
muscle density. You can't switch those.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here too. So Michael Phelps
Savage.
produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies. And now I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but there are, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive abilities.
The study that you're referencing had like 7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be
A lot of us
personal.
live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over, regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So
Okay, I
there's
think-
hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're
with
literally a
each
white
other
woman from
then.
Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Okay, we're having a conversation.
Wow. She got real flustered. And it's like, you've been dominating the conversation. You get to interject with all of your nonsense, opinions that don't even like relate to what this panel or debate is, but you get to cackle and laugh at other people. Got it. At least there are people who are, it seemed like, the black female at the top, she was like nodding her head, like in agreement with Sydney that like they should have the ability to talk. And then the other female at the bottom next to the cackler, at least there is some support, but read the room, lady. Like, this is like not the way in which this is supposed to go forward. Like, no one has personally attacked this girl for having like really bad comments.
Particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli, I saw you.
It seriously is. She says she does not know Western political jargon. She says she doesn't like American feminism and that sort of stuff. But like every buzzword she is pulling out, I don't believe her at all. Every single buzzword. No one else has really used these buzzwords as much as she has. And she was the one being a hater about this sort of jargon and claiming not to know it. Suspicious, like I said.
Nodding your head over there?
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life. And the right sees this.
So this is sort of like this whole topic has gone from feminism and the rights of women to the rights of that women need to subside for the rights of trans women. It's sort of like this whole topic, and everyone on this panel, for the most part, except for the 2 girls or 3 girls that have been kind of straying away from the main consensus on this group, have been trying to talk about feminism. Everyone else has tried to talk about some other issue, some other intersectional issue, and why that sort of needs more representation within the female rights, group. And then it just strays again to another issue, another grouping's rights. And the whole conversation has never really been about female rights. It's been about rights of other groups that just so happen to be female or female passing.
Cultural level.
How about beauty standards? We talked a little bit about this. This got brought up at the beginning. How does that tie into femininity?
Of course.
Sorry, I'm very into this idea because I do think it is one of the larger intersections that just doesn't get very discussed.
There's just too many intersections. Like, how can you even say you're it's like co-signing. If you say you're a feminist, now you have to like co-sign every little aspect that you may not even know exist within the feminist movement. It just becomes very, very confusing.
Which is, like I was talking about before, barriers and friction are placed up around bodies. And the fatter I get, the older I get, the less people will listen to me, the less value I will have for society. So,
but like, doesn't that go for men? Like, the fatter a guy gets, the older a guy gets, the less value he has for society, because as you get older as a man, like, you can't do as maybe labor intensive jobs as you used to, or maybe people just don't find you attractive. And there is just research about people do listen to more attractive people, generally speaking. Like, I just don't see how this is like a feminist issue, because this is like a people issue. This is just like an aging issue. This is an attractiveness issue. It's not like specific to women.
Oh, I'm already starting out as a woman with no legs. If I had something on my face, I have my beauty. That's one of my privileges. I have my whiteness. That's one of my privileges. I used to have thinness, and now I'm getting fatter. Things are changing. And I think every single time that we talk about feminism, pretty privilege should be discussed, because we have these ideas. If your skin tone is this, if your hair is this, if your body looks like that, it's about whether or not you are given an equal opportunity based on what you look like.
But that's not feminism. You're basically saying like women who have these things I don't have shouldn't have these things because I don't have it, and that's unfair. But that's not feminism. Feminism is like, this is because you are a female, not because you're like good looking. Like, you're basically just saying like, I don't like, that's my impression at least. Like, I don't want to put words into her mouth. She may not actually feel the way I'm perceiving that she feels, but it just seems like very upset and not happy with oneself. Therefore, you're using feminism to attack other women that have the things that you no longer have, which I think is like the, antithetical to what feminism like really should be about.
I saw it.
I think a lot of times the women that complain about beauty standards don't complain about them when they got privilege, when they were young and attractive and thin. So it's like, yeah, you're complaining when the privilege is gone, but privilege is invisible to those who have it. And women, it's a privilege, and men don't turn 18 and get looks that we get.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, yeah, beauty in the industry is exploitative, but also we have to remember a lot of the beauty standards are based around health, what's perceived as health, like symmetry.
It's funny. Like, she says something that, you know, girl with shorter hair agrees with. Yeah. And then she says something she doesn't agree with. No. It's like, you don't have to. And it's just like, it's true.
Certain weights, things like that. So there is that side where we have to balance it, and I think we're seeing so much more representation, which I think is incredibly important.
Well, I just think that, like, if women really cared about beauty standards, like, the obesity rate wouldn't be what it is. We're trying to attain the beauty standards. I just think, like, some people are more attractive, some people are less attractive, and that's just, you know, where would I rate myself, 1 to 10?
Or whatever,
you know?
it's okay.
That's what I mean. Like, I just think, like, some people are more attractive.
So if you are overweight, you don't care about beauty standards,
Well,
is that right?
like, the point is that the beauty standard is thin, right?
Your standard?
Obesity comes from men and women, though.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. But I'm saying if women really wanted to fit the beauty standard, they would be thin.
Our time together has almost come to an end. We sort of started talking about feminism, big picture. We're going to try again. Is feminism dead?
I think feminism is alive, and I'm thankful to be a participant and believer of it.
I would say, as far as the West goes, I think that feminism has been cannibalized by other movements like leftism, like transgenderism.
Totally.
So I think feminism is very much alive and well. I think it takes different forms depending on who you're talking to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as I've defined in the beginning, for me, I use it as a lens. So I don't think I'll ever stop having it in my art.
Therefore, like what Sydney described, being cannibalized by other movements and other, you know, ways of thinking. It's like a philosophy, not a philosophy. What is it? Like she said, a lens.
Personal, if you will. It makes for a good vice panel.
Okay, we're done. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I know this is, it got a little heated at times, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I stand up now? Oh my God. Are we actually?
I don't know.
It's really done?
I love arguing.
I don't think I have that.
Else? I mean, drama.
It was nerve-wracking. Some of the people on the panel were entirely subsumed in misinformation.
I think that we women need to stick together and figure out what a woman is.
We were all loud, outspoken women.
Some people are soft.
I hate the idea that we're not supposed to be angry about it. It's okay to be angry about being oppressed.
It was like surprising to get tone policed on camera by a white woman.
I don't know why everything has to become about me being a white person, as if that somehow circumvents my opinions on issues.
The personal is political, the political is personal.
We need to have more spaces where we have literal political ideologies of different backgrounds.
Feminism is always and has been a hate group.
Feminism isn't dead in America. I think feminism is doing its best.
I'm ready for a glass of wine.
Wait, but you were just saying that feminism in America sucks, like basically. Like, she's wild. She's wild. So I wasn't entirely sure what to expect from this video because prior to watching this alongside of you guys, I only saw the clip that Sydney Watson posted, which was the cackling, and that kind of like, you know, framed what this would be. It kind of lived up to what I thought it'd be. I thought maybe feminism would have been discussed a bit more. I'd be really curious to like go back and figure out how many minutes were actually devoted to talking about female-centric issues versus personal and then other offshoot issues, because generally, like, I don't think like the female experience was really discussed, and when it was trying to be discussed, it got like hammered down by but this, but that, instead of just talking about the issue at hand. So that's interesting. And it seems like a lot of people in the comments of this video had similar critiques as I had while watching the video. So let's go over some of those. So this one user under the video has over 400 likes. The comment says, "This video is beyond infuriating, and it shows just how disillusioned some women are. Everything has to be about opposition and division. That in itself shows the mentality of the groups of people pushing the ridiculous arguments and agendas, especially when it comes to gender, race, equality, feminist, etc. All of it screams self-hate, insecurity, and ... They didn't finish the thought. Looks like they're a female, and that's what they think of this. I pretty much agree with this comment, and so did 400 other people. That this just shows, like, what I got was like, if you have any opposition to what another person is saying or what feminism is, like, people take such personal offense to someone else just challenging their beliefs, which, like, of course you're gonna have like a defensive position when someone challenges what you truly believe, especially say if you are, you know, someone of a certain race and you're talking about your race and how that impacts you being a woman, instead of actually just understanding. They're just trying to get to the nut of the issue for this panel, which is just about being your experience as a woman and just feminism as a whole, separate of yourself. But since you're a woman, you're somehow an expert on feminism, which obviously that's not the case. I think maybe a male panel could have done a better job at explaining or having this discussion of feminism, maybe of men and women. But the thing is, you would see the same thing where women are shouting down men because you're not a woman, therefore you can't understand feminism, which is just like obviously not true. Like, this is just like, you know, a lot of these things are just part of the human experience. And then this other user says, it was interesting that these women went to great lengths to not answer the question posed as to what was holding them back personally as a woman. One latched onto being Black, another brought up her disabilities. None wanted to be anything but victims of the patriarchal order. True. I mean, that was even a buzzword used in the video itself, but I wish someone could have actually taken that on, because there are competent women who can take on these type of questions to really talk about the barriers. Like when the girl was talking about, you know, women's sport not being as entertaining, like, yeah, that is a barrier for women in sports. You might not like see it as a barrier for yourself, but generally speaking, that is like the barrier that overall female sports has. Doesn't mean the barrier is not logical, like it makes sense, but like that is a barrier. So if they had someone there who could articulate this in a better way, I think it would have been a lot better of a panel. I honestly think like someone like Lauren Southern would have done actually a really good job on this panel, being one of the people like taking on maybe more of the feminist viewpoint, or maybe someone like Lauren Chen. Well, it's like she doesn't agree with them. You can understand certain points of views and maybe you can articulate it better than the people who actually hold those views, if that makes sense. Sometimes the biggest detractors actually understand the other side's view better than the side projecting those beliefs do. As I'm going through these comments, it seems like a lot of the people take issue with this panel and, you know, the 7 verse 2 or 6 verse 3 type of thing is actually predominantly women. Like it or not, I feel like the people who are on this panel that they're not attacking, but, you know, having criticism of, are probably like seething reading these comments. So this one user says, clearly the lady asking Pearl where she learned what she's saying shows that she lives in a bubble and is repeating all the modern feminist talking points word for word. I think many of them were angered when confronted with truth, just as Pearl dished to her, LOL, and knowing how majority of the panel couldn't keep to the question being asked and kept inserting their own vices to bully others. I don't know why YouTube's like doing ... and won't let me expand someone's comment. So I think they actually are saying more, but something's wrong with my YouTube and won't let me see it, which is very frustrating. But yeah, that's kind of like what it seemed like. I feel like I've gone over this. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it just seems like it's just another example about how in society today, it's not just a left versus right thing. Just people cannot have their ideas challenged anymore without, you know, becoming emotionally invested in this idea and their beliefs without being open to discourse and maybe being wrong. So there's like a million things I could say about this panel. I think someone else needs to redo this panel and actually like basically just re-ask every question that was asked and maybe have a more fair playing field. But what did you guys think about this panel or debate? Do you think you actually left knowing more about feminism, or are you more confused now? Because I definitely thought this was going to be hopefully a little more informative. It wasn't. It just kind of showed how women like to fight, which is a really bad image. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to watch Vice's whole video. I didn't include everything. I don't want Vice to, knock this down. I don't really know how they work with the whole copyright stuff, but please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe, and watch my other videos. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.